Ladies and gentlemen, there's something you need to know, something that history books won't tell you, something that the world tries to bury, to ignore, to silence. But the truth always finds a way to rise. When you talk about black people, you're talking about more than just a race. You're talking about a legacy, a movement, a force of nature that has shaped the world in ways that most can't even comprehend. And today I'm going to tell you 5 facts, 5 truths that will make you see just how powerful, how resilient, how unstoppable black people truly are. Legacy is more than just history. It is more than just stories passed down through generations. Legacy is power. It is the undeniable proof that black people have never just existed. We have shaped, built, and influenced the very foundation of civilization itself. From the ancient kingdoms of Africa to the modern global stage, black excellence has never been a coincidence. It has always been intentional. It has always been a force, but here's the truth. They don't want you to know that. They don't want you to see that before slavery, there was sovereignty. Before oppression, there was innovation. Before struggle, there was greatness. Black people were kings and queens long before they were ever called slaves. Empires like Mali, Ghana, and Songhai were thriving centers of education, wealth, and commerce, producing scholars, warriors, and leaders that the world still studies today. Mansa Musa, the richest man to ever live, was a black man. The libraries of Timbuktu held knowledge so vast, so advanced, that scholars from around the world traveled just to study there. That is not a lost history, that is a hidden history. And it doesn't stop there. When the world tried to erase black contributions, when it tried to rewrite the narrative, black brilliance continued to shine through. Dr. Daniel Hale Williams performed the first successful open heart surgery. Garrett Morgan invented the traffic light. Madam C.J. Walker became the first self-made female millionaire in America, and yet these names are not written in every history book. These stories are not told in every classroom. Because acknowledging black excellence means acknowledging black power. And that is a truth they have always feared. But legacy does not die. Legacy is not erased, it is reclaimed. And that is exactly what is happening now. Black people across the world are rediscovering their roots, reclaiming their history, and understanding that they come from a lineage of greatness, a lineage that has endured, adapted, and thrived despite every attempt to break it. That is what makes black people unique. Because legacy is more than the past. Legacy is a blueprint for the future. It is the foundation on which new generations will build. It is the proof that no matter what challenges come, no matter what obstacles rise, black people will always find a way to overcome. Because history has shown that no matter what was taken, what was denied, what was stripped away, black legacy never crumbles. It only grows stronger. Wealth does not just happen. It is built, protected, and passed down. It grows through opportunity, through ownership, through access to resources that allow families to create generational stability. But for black people, that process was never allowed to happen freely. The wealth gap is not just an unfortunate statistic. It is a design, a system built to exclude, to oppress, and to ensure that prosperity remains in the hands of a few, while black communities are forced to start over again and again. From the very beginning, black labor built economies that black people were never allowed to benefit from. Enslaved people worked the land, built the infrastructure, and generated massive wealth for others while being denied the right to own anything for themselves. The wealth was created, but it was never shared. Even after emancipation, the barriers remained. Black families were promised 40 acres and a mule, a chance to establish themselves after centuries of forced labor. But that promise was broken. The land was taken back and the cycle of exclusion began again. And when black people did find ways to build wealth, it was deliberately destroyed. Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma was a thriving hub of black-owned businesses, banks, and success, until it was burned to the ground in 1921. It wasn't the only one. Prosperous black communities in Rosewood, Florida, in Wilmington, North Carolina, and across the country were attacked, dismantled, and erased from history books. These were not isolated incidents, they were calculated attacks meant to ensure that black people never gained economic independence. But the barriers didn't stop there. Redlining, housing discrimination, predatory lending, and wage suppression all worked together to widen the wealth gap. Black families were denied home ownership, one of the primary ways wealth is passed down. They were pushed into underfunded schools, limiting access to education and better job opportunities. Even today, black businesses face greater challenges securing loans, receiving investments, and accessing the same economic advantages that others take for granted. And yet, despite all of this, black wealth is still rising. Black entrepreneurs are building, black investors are learning, and financial literacy is spreading. The knowledge that was once kept from us is now being reclaimed. The system was designed to keep black people from building wealth, but that design is being broken. Because history has shown that no matter how many times black communities are pushed down, they rise again, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. The wealth gap was never an accident, it was engineered, but black success, that will not be stopped. Black culture is not just influential, it is foundational. It is the heartbeat of global music, fashion, sports, language, and art. It is the force that moves industries, sets trends, and defines generations. And yet, despite its undeniable impact, it is often imitated, appropriated, and commodified without proper recognition. But here's the truth. Black culture is not just a trend, it is the blueprint. Look at music, the rhythms, the beats, the soul. It all traces back to black creativity. From gospel to jazz, from blues to rock and roll, from hip-hop to R&B, black musicians have pioneered sound itself. Elvis Presley became the king of rock and roll, but the sound came from Chuck Berry and Little Richard. Hip-hop started in the Bronx, created by black and Latino youth, and now it dominates global charts, shaping pop culture worldwide. The influence is so deep, so ingrained, that even when the industry tries to erase the originators, the essence of black music cannot be ignored. Look at fashion, the style, the swag, the innovation. It starts with black culture. Streetwear, sneaker culture, bold colors, and creative self-expression all have roots in the black community. High-end designers may try to capitalize on it, but the truth is, black people don't follow trends, they create them. The way black people wear their hair, the way they accessorize, the way they carry themselves. It's not just fashion, it's identity. And no matter how much the world tries to copy it, they can never duplicate the soul behind it. Look at sports. The domination is undeniable. Black athletes don't just participate, they change the game. From Jesse Owens shattering Nazi ideology in the 1936 Olympics to Muhammad Ali becoming the face of boxing, from Serena Williams redefining tennis to LeBron James setting new standards in basketball, Black excellence in sports is unmatched. And beyond the game, these athletes shift culture, speak on social justice, and influence billions, proving that their power extends far beyond the court, the field, or the ring. Education is supposed to be the great equalizer, the key to opportunity, the foundation for success. It is supposed to be a system built to enlighten, to empower, to prepare young minds for the future. But for Black people, the education system has never been a place of fairness. It has never been a system designed for progress. It has been a system designed for exclusion, for erasure, for limitation. The truth is, Black brilliance has always existed, but the system was never meant to nurture it. It was meant to suppress it. From the very beginning, access to education was a battle. Enslaved Black people were forbidden to read and write because knowledge is power, and those in control knew that an educated Black population would be unstoppable. Laws were passed to ensure that literacy remained out of reach, because the ability to think critically, to question, to innovate was a threat to the status quo. Yet, even under the harshest conditions, Black people found ways to learn. They passed down knowledge in secret, risked their lives to read forbidden books, and built underground systems of education because they understood that without knowledge, there could be no true freedom. Even after emancipation, when Black children were finally allowed into school systems, they were given the bare minimum: underfunded schools, outdated textbooks, overcrowded classrooms, and a curriculum that erased their own history. This was the reality for Black students. While others received top-tier resources, Black communities had to fight for the basics. The gap was intentional, designed to keep Black minds from reaching their full potential. And what about the curriculum? The truth of Black excellence, Black contributions, and Black innovation was either omitted or rewritten. Schools taught about slavery but failed to teach about the kingdoms of Africa. They mentioned the civil rights movement but sanitized the true brutality of what Black people endured. They praised inventors and scientists, but they left out the Black pioneers who changed the world. Dr. Daniel Hale Williams performed the first successful open-heart surgery. Garrett Morgan created the traffic light. Katherine Johnson helped launch NASA into space. These names should be common knowledge, but the education system decided they were not important enough to highlight. And still, the disparities continue. Black students are more likely to attend underfunded schools, more likely to be disciplined harshly for minor infractions, more likely to be funneled into the school-to-prison pipeline instead of being given the support to excel. Genius is everywhere, but opportunity is not. Black students are not failing, the system is failing them. They are not underperforming, they are being intentionally underserved. Adversity is not new to Black people. It is not unfamiliar, not unexpected, not a stranger knocking at the door. It has been present for generations, woven into the very fabric of the Black experience. But here's the truth: adversity has never broken Black people. It has forged them. It has refined them. It has created a strength so deep, so powerful, that no system, no oppression, no obstacle has ever been able to destroy it. From the very first moment Black people were stolen from their homelands, stripped of their names, their languages, their cultures, the world expected them to disappear, to fold, to surrender, to accept defeat. But defeat was never an option. Even in chains there was resistance. Even in bondage there was hope. They sang songs not of despair, but of liberation. They carried their stories, their traditions, their identities in their hearts, refusing to be erased, refusing to be broken. Strength was not given, it was built. When slavery ended, the struggle did not. Freedom was granted, but equality was denied. Laws were written to keep black people at the bottom. Jim Crow, segregation, redlining, voter suppression. Every system was designed to make sure black people stayed in the shadows. But even then, strength prevailed. Black communities thrived against the odds, building schools, businesses, neighborhoods, institutions that stood as proof that no matter how deep the oppression, resilience runs deeper. The Harlem Renaissance, Black Wall Street, the Civil Rights Movement. These were not just moments in history. They were testaments to a people who refused to bow, refused to be silent, refused to let adversity win. And even now, in a world that claims to be more just, more equal, the battles continue. Discrimination in the workplace, systemic racism in policing, economic barriers, underfunded schools, unequal health care. Adversity has taken new forms, but the response remains the same. Strength. Black people continue to rise, to innovate, to lead. They continue to break records, shatter ceilings, redefine industries, and demand justice where there is none. They are not waiting for a seat at the table, they are building their own.